Have you ever dreamed of speaking another language fluently, but felt overwhelmed by grammar books, endless vocabulary lists, and years of classes? What if I told you there's a way to learn any language in just 6 months, with minimal effort, by someone who's done it multiple times? I recently had the chance to sit down with one such individual, a man they call the lazy polyglot. He is not a language prodigy or someone who spends 10 hours a day studying. In fact, he admits his approach is almost comically lazy. Yet he effortlessly picks up new languages, converses with natives, and navigates foreign cultures with the fluency that seems impossible. He agreed to share his methods, but with a condition. I had to promise to reveal them only to those truly ready for an unfair advantage. He believes these insights are too simple, too powerful, and frankly too unfair for the average person to handle. But after hearing his answers, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. This information is the unfair advantage we've all been looking for, so I'm publishing it. And I'll probably regret this. Pay close attention to all 7 answers, but especially the last one. Question number 7 reveals the single biggest secret he uses to master languages so quickly. It changes the entire game. Most people dream of speaking another language, but they get bogged down in grammar rules, endless vocabulary lists, and the fear of making mistakes. They spend years in classes, only to find themselves still struggling to hold a basic conversation. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when trying to learn a new language?
The biggest mistake is treating language learning like an academic subject instead of a skill. They focus on studying the language rather than using it. They try to memorize everything before they even try to speak. This creates a massive mental block and makes the process feel like a chore. Language isn't about perfection, it's about communication. The moment you start treating it like a puzzle to be solved perfectly, you've already lost.
So it's about using the language, not just studying it. That sounds like your first rule. What is it, and how does a lazy polyglot apply it to learn a language in just 6 months?
My first rule is the shallow dive rule. Most people think they need to dive deep into grammar books and intense study sessions from day one. I do the opposite. I start with a shallow, broad immersion. I don't study the language. I live with it passively at first. I change my phone's language. Watch movies and TV shows with subtitles in the target language, and later without. Listen to music and podcasts. I don't stress about understanding every single word. The goal is to get a feel for the sounds, the rhythm, and the general context. The laziness here is that I turn learning into entertainment. My brain absorbs patterns and sounds without the pressure of formal study. It's like letting the language wash over you, allowing your subconscious to do the heavy lifting. This builds a foundation of familiarity and reduces the initial intimidation, making the deeper dive much easier later on. It's about creating a comfortable environment for your brain to start recognizing the language almost effortlessly.
That makes sense. Start broad, get comfortable, then dive deeper. But what about speaking? Many people, especially beginners, are terrified of speaking, fearing mistakes or sounding foolish. How do you, a lazy polyglot, overcome that initial fear and start conversing quickly?
The perfection trap. Most people wait until they feel ready to speak, which, as you said, never happens. They spend months, even years, memorizing grammar and vocabulary,
only to freeze when faced with a native speaker. My second rule is the speak wrong, speak early rule. It's counterintuitive, but the fastest way to learn to speak is by speaking and embracing imperfection from day one. The lazy application is simple. Don't wait for perfection. Use the few words you know and combine them creatively to get your message across. I actively seek out opportunities to speak, even if it's just a few broken sentences. I use language exchange apps, find online tutors, or even just talk to myself in the target language. The laziness here is that I don't waste time trying to be perfect. I learn by doing. Mistakes aren't failures, they're free feedback. Each mistake tells me exactly what I need to improve. It accelerates the learning process for speaking, with minimal upfront effort. It's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and realizing that every interaction, no matter how clumsy, is a step forward.
That's a powerful shift in mindset. Embrace the mistakes. Speak early. But a common challenge is feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of vocabulary. How do you, a lazy polyglot, build a functional vocabulary quickly without getting lost in endless lists of words you'll never use?
That's where most people burn out. They try to learn every word in the dictionary. My third rule is the essential survival kit rule. You don't need to know thousands of words to be functional. A small percentage of vocabulary covers the vast majority of daily communication. I focus on learning the essential words and phrases that unlock 80% of conversations. The lazy application is to prioritize. I identify the 1,000 to 2,000 most frequent words in the language and key phrases for common situations. Greetings, ordering food, asking for directions, expressing basic needs. I use spaced repetition systems like Enki to efficiently memorize these high-frequency words. The laziness is that I don't overload my brain with unnecessary vocabulary. I equip myself with the minimum viable language to be functional quickly. The rest comes naturally through immersion and practice. It's about getting the biggest bang for your buck, focusing your limited energy on what will give you the most immediate return in communication ability. Why learn platypus when you still can't ask for a glass of water?
That's a very practical approach to vocabulary. But what about grammar? For many, grammar is the most intimidating part of language learning, filled with complex rules and exceptions. How do you, a lazy polyglot, conquer grammar without getting bogged down in textbooks and endless exercises?
Grammar is often taught like a set of laws you must memorize before you can even step onto the field. My fourth rule is the pattern detective rule. I don't study grammar formally at the beginning. I deduce it through observation. I become a pattern detective, noticing how native speakers naturally construct sentences. The lazy application is to immerse yourself and pay attention. Instead of reading grammar rules, I listen to how native speakers use the language in real context: movies, conversations, songs. I notice the repetitions, the common structures, and even the exceptions. When I make a grammatical mistake while speaking, I pay close attention to the correction and try to internalize the pattern. The laziness here is that I let my brain do the heavy lifting of pattern recognition, which it's incredibly good at.
rather than forcing the memorization of abstract rules. It's like learning to ride a bike by riding it, not by reading a physics textbook on ballast. Your brain naturally picks up the rules through consistent exposure and feedback, making the process far less painful and far more intuitive than traditional grammar drills.
That's a fascinating way to approach grammar. It sounds much less intimidating. Finally, many people struggle with motivation. Language learning can be a long journey, and it's easy to lose steam, especially when the material feels dry or irrelevant. How do you, a lazy polyglot, stay motivated and engaged for 6 months or even longer without burning out?
Motivation is the fuel, and most people try to run their language learning on low-grade, generic fuel. My fifth rule is the your passion is your teacher rule. I don't study what's boring. I learn what I love in the target language. The lazy application is to integrate the language into your existing passions. If I love cooking, I watch cooking shows in the target language, read recipes, or even try to follow a chef's instructions. If I'm into video games, I play them in the target language. If I have a favorite artist, I listen to their music and read their lyrics. The laziness here is that I turn language learning into a hobby. It becomes pleasurable and sustainable. My passion keeps me exposed and practicing, eliminating the need for forced discipline. When you're genuinely interested in the content, your brain is more engaged, you retain information better, and the learning process feels effortless. It's the ultimate hack for long-term motivation. Make the language a vehicle for enjoying what you already love, and the learning takes care of itself.
These 5 rules, the shallow dive, speak wrong, speak early, essential survival kit, pattern detective, and your passion is your teacher are incredibly insightful and offer a truly revolutionary approach to language learning. They make the daunting task of becoming fluent seem not just achievable, but genuinely enjoyable and efficient. But for my final and most important question, after all these techniques, what is the single most powerful ultimate secret you use to master languages so quickly? What is the true cheat code that ties it all together for the lazy polyglot?
This is the secret that most people miss because they are constantly chasing external validation, external methods, or external perfection. They believe the key to fluency lies in a specific app, a perfect teacher, or a magical textbook. But the ultimate cheat code isn't external, it's internal. The true power of the lazy polyglot comes from embracing the identity of a speaker. Most people say, I want to learn Spanish. I say, I am a Spanish speaker. This isn't just semantics. It's a profound shift in identity. When you are a speaker, your brain automatically looks for opportunities to speak, to understand, to engage. You don't try to learn, you live the language. If you identify as someone who is merely learning, you give yourself permission to make excuses, to procrastinate, to feel like an outsider. But if you truly embrace the identity of a speaker, even a beginner speaker, your actions align with that identity. You stop seeing mistakes as failures and start seeing them as necessary feedback for a speaker to improve. You stop feeling embarrassed and start feeling curious. You stop avoiding conversations and start seeking them out. This is the ultimate lazy hack because it requires no extra effort, no new apps, no more hours of study. It's a mental flip. By simply deciding and believing that you are a speaker of that language, your entire approach changes. Your brain becomes your most powerful ally, constantly seeking out and reinforcing that identity. It's the ultimate internal motivation, making all the other rules effortless to follow. You don't force yourself to speak early. You are a speaker, so you speak. You don't force yourself to immerse.
You are a speaker, so you seek out the language. It's the most efficient way to achieve fluency because you're not just learning a language, you're becoming a new version of yourself.
There you have it. The system is simple, lazy, and it goes against everything you've ever been told about language learning. That's why it works. If this knowledge helps you, do me a favor and like this video so the algorithm shares it with others who need it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next unfair advantage. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me, who should I interrogate next? A lazy leader? A lazy networker? You decide. See you in the next video.